Samandap, 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 samandap.
Good morning. Good morning, and thank you all for attending this morning's special services. Today, our Dharma School students and Sangha members, who also happen to be scouts or scout leaders, will be chairing our February Shotsuki Hoyo Memorial Service, as well as observing the anniversary of the Scouting movement with a special Scout Sunday service program. This is the fourth consecutive year that our Buddhist Temple of San Diego Scout Sangha has conducted a Scout Sunday service during the anniversary month of February. Our Scouts are honored to chair the temple's monthly memorial service as part of their oath in reverence to their faith. Mr. Ralph Honda, who attained the rank of Eagle Scout, will be presenting us with our Scout Sunday Dharma message. Later on in the service program, today's Dharma leader, Mr. Bill Teague, will be sharing his Dharma message as part of our monthly Shotsuki Hoyo memorial observance, as we remember loved ones, friends, and temple members who have passed in the month of February. Again, thank you all for attendance, and our Scouts thank you for your support in their annual observance of Scout Sunday. The Scouts will now process into the Hondo, leading the Dharma School fruit and floral offering. I would like to ask that all members of the Sangha please stand and remain standing as they process, and for the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance, the Girl Scout Promise, and the Scout Law. Buddhist Temple of San Diego Scout Sangha, flag detail, advance. The Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? 3, 2, 1. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. The Girl Scout Promise.
On my honor, I will try to serve my faith and my country, to help others at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law.
The Scout Law.
Please join me in the Scout Law. The Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
BTSD Scout Sangha flag detail dismissed. You may now all be seated.
You can put it back.
I would like to invite Mr. Ken Muraoka, Director of Scout Programs here at the Buddhist Temple of San Diego, to offer today's welcome message. Ken?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending today's Scout Sunday service. I'll go through a quick slideshow explaining what Scout Sunday is. What is Scout Sunday? Scout Sunday is a celebration of the anniversary of Scouting and to recognize the contributions of young people and adults to Scouting within the many religious institutions that support youth and the Scouting movement. Scouting was founded in 1908 in the United Kingdom, and Boy Scouts of America was founded in 1910, 2 years later. And the Girl Scouts of America was founded in 1912. In the picture, you could see Lord Baden-Powell and Lady Olav Baden-Powell, the founders of the Scouting movement. Scout Sunday is celebrated by religions all over the globe, and Scouting in the BCA. You can see these are some of the pictures from not from our temple, but from the BCA of Scouting, how active Scouting has been in the BCA, and today, like in other BCA temples all across the country, we are honoring our youth and youth leaders in the Scouting programs. So these are more pictures of different Scouting activities or different award presentations throughout the BCA. All right. Oops. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. At this time, we'd like to recognize all members of the Sangha who are Scouts or were Scouts when they were youth. So if you were a Boy Scout, Girl Scout, Brownie, please stand and be recognized. Today's Scout Sunday. We want to go ahead and recognize those individuals who are Scouts. And look at all of those Sangha members who are Scouts. Wow. I see we have a young Girl Scout in the back. She can come up to the front and sit with the Scouts if she'd like. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of the members of the Sangha. So hopefully you'll have a chance to reminisce a little bit today as we go through today's service programming. At this time, we will now be switching into our Shotsuki Hoyo Memorial Service programming. And today's Dharma leader, Certified Minister's Assistant, Mr. Bill Teague, will now introduce the Shotsuki Hoyo Memorial program and read the names of those family members and temple members who have passed away in the month of February. These are the names that are on record in the temple's records, going all the way back to the founding of the temple here in San Diego itself. The names read are not inclusive of everyone we've lost, and Mr. Teague will provide an explanation and guidance on how to honor those loved ones as well.
Thank you, Rick. That was a lovely ceremony. I'm going to encourage you as we read the Shotsuki Hoyo names to treat this as your meditation. I know that sometimes the names may not mean much to you at the time, or maybe you just wait until you hear a name you recognize and your ears kind of pick up. But I'll get into this more in the adult Dharma talk, but some of you may wonder a little bit about the doctrine and the explanations of why Amida Buddha is important to us and the Buddha of infinite light and life. And I just want you, this is personal understanding, but I'll share it with you in case it helps. And that is that the people who started this temple are aspects of Amida's light and life. for us. And like light, most of you know, some of you are even scientists who know photons are pretty ornery particles. That's why we can look up at a night sky, especially if there's not too much night pollution, and see distant stars, and the light is still coming to us after millions of years. In some ways, these people who are no longer with us, their light continues. Their sacrifice to start this temple continues, so that's another reason that we thank them and we honor them. So as I read the Shotsuki Hoyo names, please, if you're here to represent the family, please come forward and offer incense. And of course, at the end, if there are other loved ones you would like to remember who passed away in February, please offer incense as well. So I'll read the name of the deceased. These are in date order, so we go way back and continue forward into some fairly recent names. So please, thank you so much, and please use this as your meditation as we recite these names. Kiso Yoemon Sato, Bunshiro Takashima, Naminosuke Tachiki, Rino Yanagihara, Same Orawara, Michi Anano, Eikichi Ichisaki, Toyo Furusho, Naminosuke Date, Yukino Kodama, Ichigiro Imai, Kotaro Shimizu, Mine Iwataki, Hatsue Kimura, Sada Takasugi, Sada Tsuneyoshi, Don Sadao Takeshita, Yujiro Nakano, Yaeno Amano, Natsue Shinohara, Tome Morimoto, Tome Yamashita, Suma Shimata, Masanori Koba, Fred Yamaguchi, Fumiko Yoshihara, Megumi Torimaru, Masano Hirata, Yuki Masurimoto, Shima Furo, Miki Moriyama, Sada Samashima, Eda Asaman, Misao Sugiyama, George Hoshizaki, James Nicholas Link, Mary Sugimoto, Yaguro Namato, Kyoshi Nakamura, Otomatsu Yoshihara, Iwato Yagura, Fumiko Momita, Mary Hoshizaki, Satoshi Jack Takagi, Shie Hagio, Carol Inoue, Masami Honda, Fred Joseph S. Shirashi, Betty Torio, Patty Harue Yanagihara, Shigeru Moriyama, Susie Shizuko Yamada, Dora, I beg your pardon, Doris Miyashiro, Tsuneo Miya, Toshiharu Glenn Yoshimura, Ronald Nishikage, I beg your pardon, Ronald Nishinaga, Yoshinobu Wakabayashi, Rose Watamura, Mary Grichavata Martinez, Fumie Yamashita, Mary Yamamoto, Mariko Tanizuki, Hideko Okada Smith, Hideo Okada. I apologize, my eyes are dancing a moment. I'm not sure why. George Yamamoto, Michael Mitsuo Doi, Hitsumi Oto, Ruby Yoshida, Miyoko Kinoshita, Nobuko Ananto, Minobu Nakano, and of course, if anyone has loved ones who passed away this month whose name was not read, please come forward now. And if there's someone whose name should be on this list, let us know in the office. For your information, the first name we read, Hitsuyemon Sato, 1906. So these were added to the rolls even before the temple was formally incorporated in 1926, and most recently 2021 for Minako Nakano. All of these people can be thought of as representatives of Amita's light and life, and I appreciate your kind and reverent attention to the reading of the names. Please join me in reciting the Gasho, reciting the Nembutsu, hands together in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much.
We will now be led in the chanting of the sutra, Jusei Ge, which can be found on page 34 of our service books.
Gagoncho Sega Ishimu お無量光不意大摂取不採諸貧具政府上昇学が市場分道幼少長実法空教未消門政府上昇学利欲人少年上映主凡業死具無浄土一生天人死人力現代公不傷無才道少女三苦名交際主役難回避知恵言名詞根も暗閉塞小悪道津断前主門高僧上満足異様実法日願主従期天候音普賢一種解放像公正功徳法広大集中説法四式供養一切仏具足死徳法願永心上満徳意三害を女仏無下知津断未不詳願学営利都市最小尊志願や国家大変お感動国書天にとうち妙見ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナ Namandab, 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 Namandab.
Please rise for the reading of our pledge, which can be found as an insert in your service books. Okay, ready? Breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Okay, Kansho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, namanda. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to now introduce today's special Scout Sunday speaker, Mr. Ralph Honda. Now, before Ralph comes up, I don't know where Ralph is, there he is. I asked him to send me his bio, like we usually do with our guest speakers. He told me not to read everything, but I'm going to. All right. So Ralph earned the rank of Eagle in January 1973 when he was 16 years old. He was an active member of Boy Scout Troop 290, San Diego County chapter, and he began his career as a scout when he was just 8 years old, joining Cub Scout Pack 290, and both that pack and troop were sponsored by Wedgeforth Elementary School PTA. He held several different offices while a scout, ranging from den chief, assistant patrol leader, assistant senior patrol leader, and then eventually as patrol leader. He held ranks from tenderfoot all the way up to Eagle Scout. Some of the awards and activities that he participated in his scouting career is he earned the Sangha Award for Buddhist Scouts. He attended the 13th World Jamboree at Asagiri Heights near Mount Fuji, Japan, as a member of Troop 1331, sponsored by the Buddhist Churches of America. He's a 50 Night Camper Award with the Sierra Trek, 4 Colorado River Canoe River Rat trips, 6 Camelback Awards, that's 150 miles, 4 Camporees, 3 Scout Camps, 5 Peak Bagger Awards, 9 Peak Awards. He's a member of the Order of the Arrow, so he's an arrowman. Mount Whitley Tread Medal, Acord Training, Mount San Gregorino Award, I don't even know where these mountains are at, San Jaquito Award, attended the 7th Mexico Camporee in Tecate, Mexico, Backpack Training Award, El Camino Award medal. Okay, I have that one. That's the only one I have, Ralph. It's this one right here. And he earned his wood carving badge. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ralph Honda.
That's okay. Well, thank you very much, Ricky. You didn't have to read all that. But good morning, everyone. Nice to see all of you this morning on this very special day of the February Shotsuki Hoyo and then Scout Sunday. Let me get a few things here to get set up. I have to apologize. I couldn't wear my scout uniform because it no longer fits. So this is my scout uniform when I was a Boy Scout, And this is some of the patches that I earned, of course, with my Eagle badge, and then the patches I had with attending the Scout Jamboree in Japan in 1970. And I'm sorry, 1971. Okay, and then I was in Troop 290. But today, I'm very privileged to share my memories as a scout on this observance of Scout Sunday, especially with the Dharma School students. Thank you very much to Ricky Cheeks for asking me to provide my message. It's quite an honor to do so. Well, to begin with, I was introduced to scouting when I was 8 years old. I joined Cub Pack 290, sponsored by the Wegeforth Elementary School PTA, and was in Den 4. I noticed that Flynn is in Den 5. Is that correct? Yes? Oh, cool. All right, I was in Den 4, and then I advanced through the ranks of wolf, bear, lion, and then Weeblo. Yes, Weeblo. And then transitioning to Boy Scouts to Troop 290 as a tenderfoot and earning my the ranks through second class, first class, star, and eagle. So on the TV are just some of the badges that I earned while I was in scouting. I won't go through them all, but these are just some of the badges that I had earned while I was in Scouts. One day, Ricky, I'll take you up to Mount San Gorgonio. It's well, that's quite a hike. I have many fond firsts of my scouting days, including my first overnight camp out, my first summer camp, my first camporee, my first hike, my first canoe trip, and then, of course, my first encounter with a bear. And but I really have to thank my parents for getting me involved with scouting. It was really a lifelong experience for me. But today I'd like to share my scouting experience and the impact it had on my young life, growing up as a Dharma School student and guiding me in my life's journey. And I'll focus briefly on attending the World Jamboree in Japan, studying for the Sangha Award, and earning the rank of Eagle. So one of the biggest highlights in my career was attending the Jamboree in Japan. The Jamboree was held August 2nd through the 10th in 1971, and it was at Asagiri Heights on Mount Fuji. And one of the things that I had to do on my scouting experience to Japan was I promised my scout troop that I would put together a journal of my experience. And I still have this journal. It's my journey and places around Nippon in Japan. And so when I went to Japan, I recorded everything that I did. And I had this, and then also had a notebook. I had a daily diary of my experiences in Japan. And so when I came back to United States and shared all this information with my scouts and my leaders, of my experience while in Japan. Having no idea what to expect as a 14-year-old scout, I thought to myself, what a great adventure to visit Japan. My parents first read that the Buddhist Churches of America was forming the scout troop to attend a jamboree. They signed me up, and my application was accepted. I was a little apprehensive at first, probably more scared than anything. I was going to be joining a group of boys and leaders who I had never met, and even though they were all Japanese Americans, I was going to be traveling to a foreign country for the first time, and I wouldn't be with anyone from my troop. I showed you the journal, and then and so forth. But as part of the trip was going to Japan. There were a lot of preparations involved with going to Japan, and the Buddhist Churches of America, they provided all the information for all the scouts, how to get prepared for the event and so forth. And this is a picture of the troop that I was with, Troop 1331. Now, there were 31 scouts in the troop, and there were a scoutmaster, 3 assistant scoutmasters. I was 14 years old and one of the youngest scouts in the troop. I don't know if you could see me in the photo, but there's an arrow, blue arrow, that's pointing to me. I'm sitting there right behind a tree. Since all of the, a lot of the scouts were from other temples and so forth, but I think I might have been I think I was one of 2. There was one other boy that scout where we were the only ones that were not part of a temple troop that attended the scout jamboree. But our troop was divided into 4 patrols. I was in the kitty cat patrol, and the other patrols were the Japanese Americans, the Dancing Bears, and the Sangha. I shared a tent with Russell Uchiyama from the Fowler Buddhist Temple. We were the 2 youngest scouts. I believe if you look at the photo, Russell is sitting on the bottom. He's the 3rd from the left. And I still keep in contact with Russell. In fact, we're the same age, and he comes to San Diego every year to play in our temple golf tournament. So, we have a lot of good memories to share when we get together. Before arriving at the jamboree, our troop climbed Mount Fuji, Japan's highest fabled volcanic mountain. Although although the scouts did not quite make it to the top, it was quite an experience. And I have something to show you for that. This is the hiking stick that I used to climb Mount Fuji. And if you can see, it might be kind of hard to see, but there's at each station we went to, they burn the stations that you reach. I think there's 13 total stations to get to the top of Mount Fuji. We started from the very bottom, and I think we made it to about the ninth station of the mountain. But we couldn't quite make it to the top because we weren't prepared for staying overnight, because it gets pretty cold up there, even in the summer. And so we made it to the 9th station, and then we came back down because we were running out of daylight. While at the jamboree, we received a lot of memorabilia, and this is some of it. And I thought there's an envelope in the middle there, and I thought I'd put this in there because at the time when we were in Japan, the Honganji in Kyoto, they were beginning to promote the commemoration of Shinran Shonin's 800th anniversary of his birth and the 750th anniversary of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism in Japan. Last year, as you know, our temple, we had some of our Sangha attend the 850th and the 800th anniversary of the Jodo Shinshu teaching. So, it was quite, I was there when they were beginning to promote, this event, and then 50 years later, I was able to attend the event in Japan. And here's some of the other badges that I received. And these are badges that I had traded with other scouts. And we did a lot of trading of badges. I think I traded some neckerchiefs that I had and received some. And then and here's some neckerchief slides that I received and traded as well. There were scouts from all over the world who attended the event. There was, while we were there was every day there was the Jamboree put out a newspaper for all the scouts. This is the Jamboree, this was the opening of the Jamboree, and the picture on the bottom right is of Lady Baden-Powell. She was actually in Japan to open the Jamboree for all the scouts. And there were I believe there were over 21,000 scouts. Yeah, over 21,000 scouts in representing 101 countries throughout the world. One of my memories in Japan at the Jamboree was, every day we had to go pick up our foods, for the day. And, being from America, every day we received our food of bread, potatoes, canned soups, those type of foods. So, being a Japanese, scout troop, we went around and we traded with our Japanese counterparts. So we got rice, we got tofu, we traded all the, fish, miso, so we could have Japanese food. So that's what we did, because everyone had missed those type of foods. So that's what we did. And the Japanese scouts, they were nice. They were kind enough to trade with us because, because they understood what we wanted. This is another, this was at the end of the Jamboree. After the Jamboree, our group, following the Jamboree, we visited the Nishi Honganji in Kyoto, which is the home of our Jodo Shinshu school. And we were greeted by the Gomonchu Kosho Otani, who's sitting in the center, and his son, Koshin Otani, is on the right, just to the right. And then, the Kosho Otani is the grandfather, and Koshin Otani is the father of the current Gomonchu of the Nishi Honganji, the Kojun Otani. So it was very nice to meet the ministers and our spiritual leaders in Japan. And in visiting Japan and participating in the Jamboree, it motivated me to pursue other interests that I had in scouting. And when we returned to the United States, I, along with several other scouts here at the temple, we started our studying for the Sangha Award. And I know some of the scouts have earned their Metta, Sangha, Padma Awards for the girls and so forth. So that's what we did. So in 1972, myself, there's on the left, there's Stanley Honda, Donald Suanaga, Norman Kiyono, and myself. We began our studies for the Sangha Award. And I have to say that it was a pretty intense, study program. Today, when we were coming to the temple, I asked Mr. Norman if he remembers studying for that. He says, yeah, he remembers. It was very intense because we spent about 1 year studying for this award. And we came to the temple once a week and spent about 2 hours, each session. And then, we learned about, we studied from the book, The Young People's Introduction to Buddhism, and we studied Jodo Shinshu and its rituals and practices. And we also did home study, which included taking care of our Homo Butsudan, leading nightly chanting with our families, and providing a short Dharma message. And then this is a picture of myself and my mother. She's pinning the Sangha Award badge on me, on my uniform. And then this is a picture of my family with my sister, my parents, and Reverend Terada, who officiated the ceremony. And then this is a photo of our group and our parents. And then lastly, the highest achievement in scouting is the rank of Eagle. And I earned my Eagle when I was 16 years old, and I was a sophomore in high school. Many of the Court of Honors that I had attended were at the school, elementary school of our sponsoring troop. Well, I wanted something a little different, so I asked my parents, Scoutmaster, and Reverend Terada if I could have my Court of Honor at the temple, and they all agreed. So this is a photocopy of the program that of my ceremony that was here, right here in the Hondo, and Reverend Terada led the program with sutra chanting, meditation, and a reading of the Dharma. And then, of course, there was the Eagle Scout ceremony as well. So I know all of the guests who attended, especially those who are my troop, they were very impressed because it was the first time they had ever visited a Buddhist temple. And so they were very happy to attend the event. One of my projects part of my Eagle project was having obutsudans made for the classrooms here at the temple. The obutsudan in the photo, and then here on the stage is the one that I had put together, I had made. I know Mr. Norman made one, and the other scouts, Donald and Stanley, also made one too, and we had them up in the various classrooms. I know the one that I put together was, it's in room 6 and 7 now. So in closing, I was introduced to scouting 59 years ago. And I learned a lot through my scouting experience. And And for Boy Scouts, the Scout motto is to be prepared, and the Scout slogan is to do a good turn daily. Those are words that I try to continue today, each day. I hope that all of you Dharma School students, whether you're scouts, musicians, taiko drummers, dancers, athletes, book readers, animal lovers, etc., embrace the opportunities that you offer to you in your young life. The time you spend at temple each Sunday also is especially meaningful for you and for all of us. For me, having been part of the scouting experience, attending the World Jamboree, working toward the Sangha Award, and earning the rank of Eagle has helped me cultivate my growth culturally, spiritually, and socially, and with the deepest amount of appreciation and gratitude. Scouting has definitely helped me be thankful through my interconnectedness with everyone, especially with my family, my parents, my sister, and then my family with Ms. Avis and Mr. Brevin, and to my teachers, both here at the temple and in school, and then relatives and friends, and I have to also acknowledge all you Dharma School students too, because when I come to temple, I think you all are teaching me in appreciating life, living life to its fullest. So I'd like to thank you for that. Well, thank you very much for your attention today and listening to my Dharma message. So if you could please put your hands together in Gassho to recite the Nembutsu. Namo Amidabs. Namo Amidabs. Namo Amidabs. Thank you.
Okay. Wow, Ralph, that was that was very. I'm so happy that Ralph agreed to be our speaker for this Scout Sunday and talk about the history of scouting here at the temple. And then we still have members of the Sangha who are scouts, and we hope to be able to bring them all up here to talk about their scouting experiences as we continue to observe Scout Sunday every year in the month of February. Typically at this part of the program, we would bring up and honor and recognize scouts and scouters who have earned their Sangha and Padma or Metta awards, who had been working on them since the previous year's Scout Sunday. Last Scout Sunday, those of you who were here may remember that Andrea Covarrubias earned her Padma award and gave the Dharma message. So one of the things I'd like to do, I'm going to ask Miss Leslie Seymour, one of our adult scout leaders, to come up, and she's going to be speaking and giving a special presentation.
Good morning, everyone. So, in Boy Scouts, the Bodhi Award recognizes adults who have demonstrated the highest level of dedication, commitment, and self-sacrifice in the spiritual development of Buddhist members of of Boy Scouts America. It's a national award that, with the nominees submitted by the Board of Directors and approved by the Buddhist Churches of America National Scouting Committee. We are fortunate to have in our temple. Some wonderful examples of generosity, dedication, courage, and commitment in our scouting and temple community. And Ken Muroka, could you please come up? Among his many contributions and achievements, we're now going to embarrass you. So, on behalf of the temple, you've consistently shown courage and innovation, dedication to follow through also on your ideas. We've benefited from having you as president, reimagining Food and Music Festival, Obon, the kitchen being a key person in the delivery of the kitchen compliance project, and endless unseen efforts that benefit the temple in small seeming things that really help it run smoothly, like the handling propane tanks for bazaar and repaving parking lots, and all the while still having taking time to notice things like owls and birds that are around the temple grounds. As part of your scouting achievements, as a scout, I understand you are a member of the Order of the Arrow, have earned your Meta Award, Pioneer Award, and earned your Eagle in 1985. And in addition to that, also 3 palms, which each palm represents an additional 5 merit badges earned by a scout after they've already earned Eagle. And that was with Troop 895 in Chula Vista, with whom you still serve as committee chair and assistant scoutmaster and merit badge counselor for several awards. And of course, here at BTSD, the director of scout programs. And in addition, also, and have been consistently contributing to the scouting community since Trevor, your son, started in scouting, and in scouting also, when a scout earns their Eagle Award, in general, we congratulate not only the scout but also the family, because it takes such a family effort also to earn your Eagle. And Trevor is an Eagle Scout, and Cassidy a Life Scout, well on her way to Eagle. And on a personal note, when I was a Girl Scout, Ken also was part of the leadership that helped the group of us, of the kids that were studying our Padma and Meta Award, to achieve ours as well at that time. So thank you so much. We really appreciate all of your contributions and hard work. Cool. Thank you.
Sorry, that was a surprise. We left that intentionally out of the service program to keep it that way. I think this may be the first time that the Bodhi Award has been awarded here at the Buddhist Temple of San Diego. It's a great honor. It's the Adult Religious Emblems Award for an adult. And if you ever have a chance to read not so much what the requirements are in order to achieve the award, but just know that it's for people who spend a lifetime in scouting and in service to the BCA and the scouting programs together. So we're very honored to have Ken receive the Bodhi Award. So congratulations, Ken. Okay, we're on the down slope now. So I'd like to go ahead and bring up our Team Flynn and Team Finn to go ahead and give us, go ahead and read this next piece that I have here on the piece of paper. Come on, guys. Just go ahead and read that.
Thank you, Andrea, for leading us again. Thank you, Andrea, for leading us in reading the Golden Chain. Your turn. Are there any announcements? Did I say that right?
Okay, yeah, you said that right. Go ahead.
Okay.
I do have one quick announcement. Someone dropped $20 in the parking lot, and it was brought forward. So please check your pockets, your purse, if you're walking up to the temple and you intended to donate, or maybe not. The $20 is up here. Come see me afterwards, or it's going to the temple for donation.
Sorry. Good morning. I'm here for representing BWA and making two announcements. One is our Makizushi fundraiser. I have some blanks back there. We'll be rolling on Ohigan, which is March 17th. March 17th. So it's $10 to roll, so it's our annual fundraiser. Please support us. And then the other thing is our English tea, which we had to make a slight change. It's going to be 2 weeks after the original date. Anyway, so it's going to be on May 4th, on Saturday, 11:30 to 2. And it's a fundraiser for the Lahaina Honganji Mission and BWA. And so please support our tea. It's $35, and that's it. It's going to be lots of fun. So thanks.
Hi everyone, me again. For anyone interested in Dharma School camping, we will be we're going to be camping the weekend of April 19th. So that's the 19th to the 21st. Please feel welcome to come and see me if you have any questions. We'll also have a sign up going up soon, and please join us. It's a lot of fun. We are. We usually keep it very easy and accessible for everyone to come and enjoy. So, so please consider joining us.
This $20 bill just keeps falling down. I think it doesn't want. There, I'm going to put it there. All right. So we pre-thanked Andrea for leading us in the Golden Chain. So I'm going to ask her to come up now to go ahead and lead us in the Golden Chain.
Please rise and join us in reading The Golden Chain, which can be found on page 90 of the service book. Golden Chain. I am a link in Amita's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amita's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Okay. Before we dismiss the Dharma School to classes, the Scouts will go ahead and close the Scout Sunday portion of this service, and they will be leading you in the song Scout Vespers, which you can find on the back of your service program for today. So I'll invite the Scouts to come up and face the Sangha, and we'll be singing at campfire style, and we'll be accompanied on the organ.
Thank you, Scouts, and thank you
for joining us in that song. This concludes the Scout Sunday service programming for this morning's service. We would like to thank our Scouts for leading us and dismiss them and our Dharma School students and teachers to their classes. Everyone else, please remain as we continue our monthly Shotsuki Hoyo Memorial Service. Dharma School is dismissed. You may offer incense before leaving the Hondo. Trading food in Japan, I gotta remember that.
Congratulations. Thank you.
That was a surprise. I'm glad it was a surprise. We were trying to keep it on the hush.
I have to go.
No worries.
Okay. Because Cassidy has her son out for one meeting. Oh. Because that's noon, so I can come over her this week and pick up the rest of the stuff. So. Yeah, thank you. Good time too.
What's that?
Good time.
Oh, thank you. Just leave it there. What's that?
Thank you. Please turn to page 96 in your service books and let us all read along together the Vandana Tisarana.
Thank you, Rick. I just wanted to let folks know this is the oldest chant we have in Buddhism. We believe that the words themselves and even the tune go back over 2,500 years ago to the time of the historical Buddha. And San Diego style is that everybody chants together. So please join me as we begin. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Kie Butsu, Namo Kie Ho, Namo Kie So. Join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandab, Samadab, 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 Samadab.
Mr. Bill Teague will now share with us his Dharma message.
Please join me in Gasho. Passions obstruct my eyes, and I cannot see him. Nevertheless, great compassion is untiring and illumines me always. These are the words of Shinran Shonin talking about Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandab, Samadab, Samadab, Samadab. Thanks, everybody. That was a lot of fun. It's great that we get such a nice service once a year. I'm glad that San Diego has begun that tradition. As one of the people participating, Rick Cheeks did a fabulous job organizing, orchestrating the events that are happening today. And I did want to go ahead and get to a shorthand way, or at least a transitional way to think about Amida Buddha that is not doctrinal, but I think that it may match what a lot of people who are able to go ahead and wrap their heads or arms around Amida Buddha understand, or begin to understand. But I really feel like I have to let you know my scouting credentials first. And I don't like to brag, but I was a Weebelo. And then when my family moved to La Mesa in 1959, I eventually joined Troop 311 in the Drum and Bugle Corps. We marched in the Brawley Cattle Call and other places where you had to watch while you were stepping while you were marching. And again, not to brag, but I did make second class. So I just want to let you know I also have scouting credentials. But my family has some honor in that my brother did. He was an Eagle Scout. He went into the, I can't even remember the jargon anymore, but it's the Navy version of the Eagle Scout. That is, maybe it's Mariner, but he did very well there. My parents are the ones who really are more, they're not quite at the level of Ken Moroka, but they were just very devoted because they had 4 kids. They put them all through Scouts. My mom was a den leader for Girl Scouts back when that was separate. And my father helped out with Troop 311. My father had his Scout uniform. My mom had her uniform. They were of a generation that came out of some of the troubles that some people here even remember of World War II. Obviously, histories vary tremendously, but they had gone through the Great Depression. They had fought in the war. And after the war, they were filled with optimism and hope and bright thoughts about the future. And my mother, who was an only child, was so glad to be able to have a family. A young girl whose mother died early and who never had a sibling to share life with. She just did a wonderful job. Their names were not read today, but on the Eitaikyo list and elsewhere, it makes me feel good to be able to honor them more formally. So before I talk about Shotsuki Hoyo, I may even just briefly mention the Buddhist flag. I just want to let you know that this place is impossible, and you're impossible. And by that I mean that the only reason for this place, the only reason this temple exists, is because of the names we read today at Shotsuki Hoyo. I know a little bit about Japanese American history. My wife and I are members of the Historical Society, the Japanese American Historical Society. For the 75th book, I helped rewrite what had been in the history book for the 50th anniversary. But then people talked to me about what really happened. So, when the temple started, the temple president and the resident minister would show up on your doorstep and not leave until you had made a pledge, a heavy pledge to help build a temple. And they wouldn't take no for an answer. It was browbeating or close to it, fairly heavy-handed. And this was on a generation of young immigrants to the United States who were treated so poorly. You know, they couldn't get good-paying jobs. There was a lot of anti-Asian sentiment then that led in intensity right up into World War II. But in the 1910s and the 1920s, they were all put to the test of, even though they had the lowest earning power probably of most folks in San Diego, they were asked to make this heavy commitment so that we could enjoy this building here. Impossible. I mean, without them, this would not exist. We have visitors sometimes from other Buddhist sanghas, many of which are virtual, and they just can't believe that we have this facility. We're so lucky. And the reason you're impossible is because you're interested in Buddhism, where the legal definition, or not the legal, the popular definition of being crazy is to keep two logically opposing ideas in your head at the same time. And that's what we have to do as Buddhists. Because, well, let me edge into that, because I'll tell you why you're impossible. If you know the universe, how big it is, and the mysteries of it, and how big it extends, it's mostly vacuum. There's some planets with atmosphere, and there may be other planets with life on it. I kind of hope there aren't, only because if we tried to reach out to them, we probably would goof it up. But how amazing that life exists at all. And how interesting that the central Buddha of our sect is Amida Buddha, the Buddha of infinite light and life. Because light and life, I know that on the history books you could read that, well, there used to be Amateus and there used to be Amatreya, two separate Buddhas, one was light and one was life, and then they got combined. But they have to be combined anyway. You don't have, at least life as we understand it, you don't have life without light. And if you have life, almost all living things respond to light and depend on it. Photosynthesis, plants need light. So because of light and life, we exist in this teeny pinpoint of a measureless universe. So we are impossible that we even exist at all. And it's also impossible that you would even show up today. What are the chances? Something, Buddhist perspective might talk about karma in terms of direct causes and indirect conditions. But something brought you here today. So you guys are impossible. How many other things could you be doing? Maybe things that you would enjoy even more, although you would have missed the Scout Sunday, which I thought was pretty enjoyable. So anyway, before I turn from that back to thinking about Amida Buddha a little bit more, the next time, if you have a partner or a friend, a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, spouse, who tells you you're impossible, just say, yes, thank you. So, of course I am. The two ideas that we hold in our head that are inconsistent, logically inconsistent, and then sometimes really make it hard to understand what people are talking about in Buddhism. On the one hand, we're insignificant. And we're bombu. We're one of the Buddhist sects that puts that out front at the beginning. We're ignorant beings. We're foolish beings. And we need to have humility. That is that we have to recognize that we have limited understanding. Anybody who's standing up here has limited understanding. The best teachers we have in this tradition, you may have heard them say it, they'll go ahead and again qualify their understanding of spiritual realities. It's easy to go ahead and recite and say, well, X, Y, and Z. To be a good Buddhist, X, Y, and Z. To be a Jodo Shinshu Buddhist, X, Y, and Z. But it's a journey for all of us. The important thing is not that we can say X, Y, and Z. The important thing is that we can begin to understand who we really are. And the concepts of Amida Buddha, the concepts of Buddhism may help us with that. So that's the one of the two ideas we have to keep in our mind. The other is that we're priceless. We're unique. We're the most important thing in the world. And you don't hear people say that all that much, but think of Shinran. What did Shinran say? Alone for me were the sutras written. Alone for me is Amida Buddha. Did Amida Buddha come to this world? Or think of the historical Buddha. The sutras say about his kind of fairy tale birth scene, it's obviously not a documentary, it's obviously not realistic, but the historical Buddha as an infant stands up, walks 7 steps, raises his right hand, and says, above heaven and earth, I alone am the world honored one. Well, that's not humility. The reason why we're so important is because each of us has such a unique background. So don't find yourself saying, well, Mr. Jones has X, Y, and Z. Or I wish I had that person's looks. Or, if only. Know who you are right now is super important. Because you're the only person with that unique combination of background. You're the only person who can really matter in helping the universe become itself. Because you're aware. You're looking around. You're taking care of things. So the exterior of that idea is probably hidden in our common thoughts that this is a temple where come as you are is important. Because you're already important as you are. Some of you know the history of bowing across many Asian countries, but in Buddhism it took on the idea being that I bow to the Buddha in you. Every person we see is a potential Buddha that we can learn from and help be better equipped to deal with this complicated life. So simultaneously, you're supposed to go ahead and exult in the fact that you're so unique, that what you think is really important, and at the same time be extremely humble, realize that you have limited perspective. So those are the two dualistic ideas that we inherit in this tradition and really appear in all Buddhist schools and sects. But we're also fortunate that in our tradition, it's more in the foreground of the Mahayana tradition and all the Japanese Buddhist sects, and that is that we are moving in this life from dualism to wholeness so that we can reconcile those two extremes. The middle path of Buddha is not always described in this way, but basically he was going from dualism to wholeness because the bodhisattva that he was prior to becoming a Buddha was dealing with two opposites. A, he should go ahead and be what society expected, which is to stay with his family, be the ruler of this principality. They say prince, but it was apparently a kind of a republic where they actually voted to keep their leaders in, but they were still royalty. Or the other extreme, renounce the world entirely, extreme physical practices, live on a few grains of rice a day or just a few drops of water. The middle way allowed him to go from duality to wholeness. It wasn't a case of just A or B. What is the way to put things together? And I hear Kenji Sensei's voice in my ear as soon as I say that, because he's the one who told us that Buddhism is an and religion. It's not an either or. It's and. You have to do X, Y, and Z, and you still have to live a regular life. Or other ideas. So we as Buddhists should become more comfortable with recognizing that there are irreconcilable ideas that we have to deal with, irreconcilable passions that we have, or feelings that we have to deal with. But the movement from dualism to a kind of holistic understanding of life or existence in life, all the sects of Buddhism are working in that direction. We happen to think, and because of the importance of Amida Buddha, that reciting the Nembutsu is one way to get there and to reconcile those differences. So when you say the Nembutsu, of course you bow, because there's a very important truth, and you're bowing in front of whatever the Buddha is, or whatever Amida Buddha is. We'll talk in a second. Bowing in front of that, and reminding yourself of humility, the humility that comes with this life, but also you are so important because this life doesn't exist. You are the recorder. Only you can appreciate the fine points of life because of your unique background. And it's because if we recognize that in ourselves, we can recognize it in others, and then maybe not be so upset if somebody is slightly different from us in how they see the world. The worst kind of arguments, maybe you've heard one of these, but I started hearing them more and more as I got older, are people who are arguing because they agree with each other. I mean, the fine-tuning point that the other person has to make sure the other person understands probably doesn't mean that much to most of us. And yet, that one person has a very strong idea of the way things should be. The other person is almost identical, but they're slightly different. But Buddhism may help us to understand, that person's like me. They're a little bit hard-headed. They think they know what's going on. But actually, we're pretty close. And the fact that we disagree is in itself proof that we're more alike. Not that we disagree. There's a proverb by the Portuguese poet Porges, which says that the further apart we are is what links us together. So even though you may feel different from someone, it's because you are who you are, and that unites you with the other person as well, because they too are ultimately like you. So real quick, on Amida Buddha, one understanding of light and life is this wisdom and compassion. And if you're just starting out, it may be easier just to go ahead and take the idea, well, these are the teachings, the wisdom and compassion in the Buddha's teachings that are represented especially in the sutras about Amida Buddha. And you may have noticed here, when people talk about the Dharma, they almost talk about the Buddha in the present tense. What's with that? The historical Buddha died over 2,500 years ago. Amida Buddha perhaps exists on a spiritual plane beyond ours, but is not bound by time or space. But we say the Buddha says, or Amida Buddha, and then we use a active verb like the Amida Buddha is here. For right now, if that seems to strike you a little wrong, just think about the wonderful teachings we get in Buddhism. Filled with wisdom, filled with compassion. And then poetically, we can say they're filled with light and life. So Shotsuki Hoyo is a time when we see light and life in action because it reminds us of that generation that sacrificed so much so that we could have a temple. Impossible. Very hard to put together a few nickels to rub together. They did it. Very traumatic, I think. I don't have Joyce's family is Japanese American, but they weren't part of that process. She, like me, her family moved here when she was fairly young, just getting into junior high school. But the people who grew up in this temple, who stuck with it, tremendous commitment. And I'm sure that it was traumatic in a way to go ahead and have so little money coming in and still go ahead and devote it to the Buddha. Now, there are some people who are very devout. That wasn't a problem. That's what they wanted to do. But there's all sorts of people. So I'm sure that it was a big complaint among some people. Some people resented it because they were paying their share and somebody shows up not paying their share. It's human nature. If we go from dualism to a holistic understanding, it's all okay. From Amida's perspective, from an enlightened perspective, the person who wasn't paying his or her share is no different than the person who was. Hard to reconcile that, especially if you're one of the persons who's suffering. But that's life. And we are able to go ahead sometimes and catch ourselves if we're just thinking about ourselves and complaining about things and soften our judgment a little bit. Or if we're especially feeling spiritual and one with the universe, we can become more humble when we have to do the dishes or do one of the other things that is required in this everyday life. So, in any event, you're impossible that you're here. This building's impossible that it's here. And yet it's because of the light and life of Amida Buddha. Thank you for your kind attention. Later, I may post some comments about the Buddhist flag. People think it's been around forever. It was a creation with some input from Western forces in 1880 in Sri Lanka. They first put it together, and the actual colors of it didn't get formalized until the 1950s in a council of various Buddhist traditions. So you'll find Buddhist flags that don't always match the colors that you might read about when you look it up in Wikipedia. Buddhism is like that. Don't fall into the don't worry if somebody tells you you're doing it wrong. Oh, you know, you should always do X, Y, and Z. Or you know, in my lifetime, comparatively short, we have changed what we call the stole we wear. We have changed what we call the offering box from Osai-sen to Josai, I mean. What used to be written out as Namu Amida Butsu is now written out as Namo Amida Butsu. So things are changing all the time. So don't worry about that. We do not have the wrong colors on our Buddhist flag. We have an earlier version of the Buddhist flag. It's still a wonderful thing to have. But just for history, only around since about 1880. Started in Sri Lanka, in part because of a theosophist named, I think he was a retired General Olcott from the Civil War. So all of these things have histories, and maybe we'll get into that at another point. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Please put your hands together in Kansho. Shinran Shonin talking about Amida Buddha. Passions obstruct my eyes, and I cannot see him. Nevertheless, great compassion is untiring and illumines me always. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandab, Samadab, Samadab. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. As always, your Dharma messages are very deep and full of meaning, and also we learn a lot of things along the way, especially about the Buddha's flag, which only ever comes out once a year on Scout Sunday to the front here. Usually you see it tucked around the corner behind where Ann and I are standing, so it gets prominence just this one time. So. At this time, please rise and join in the singing of the Gatha Ondoksan 2. You can find this on page 128 of our service books. Thank you. Please be seated. Please join me in closing meditation. Reading of verses from the Bodhisattva's vow, the way of Bodhisattva. May I be a medicine for the sick and weary, nursing them until their afflictions are gone forever. I would be a protector of the helpless, a guide for travelers and their means for crossing a stream, a lamp for those seeking light, a bed for those who wish to rest, an inexhaustible treasure for those who are poor and destitute. May all find happiness through my actions, and let no one suffer because of me. Whether they love or hate me, may those feelings be the source of their fulfillment. Those who mock, accuse, or wrong me, may they all attain enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. This concludes this morning's services, and I wish to thank all of those who worked to make this a meaningful experience this morning. First, to our scouts for chairing today's service, to Ann for providing us with music, Brevin for operating our AV and live stream, Kurt, who's downstairs, providing us with the office toban, and of course to our minister's assistants, especially to Bill, who was our Dharma leader, Sharon, who worked behind the scenes, and Miss Yukari Williams. They do so many things to make our services run that we don't even see. A special thanks to our speakers this morning, which included Ralph for sharing his experience as a scout with our scouts, and to all of us, and again to Bill. Thank you again. And also to deserving congratulations to Ken. He had to leave early for receiving his Bodhi Award. Most of all, I would like to thank all of you for your attendance, both here and in person, and those joining us on the live stream who may be viewing the recording of this service at a later time. Thank you. You are all invited to offer incense.